Good morning. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, my time. Welcome to the show. It's not really a show, it's just a video. Don't worry about it. Hey, welcome to the Pachanga. This is an older boat. I decided to go ahead and get started, so I've taped off all the aggressive aluminum and stainless steel on the boat. Covered the vents, got all the screws and snaps out, most of the hardware off the surface. See, 7 o'clock. I don't do 7. If you know me, man, this is, I hate mornings like some people hate cancer. Yeah, but, the show must go on. Again, not a show, just a thing I say. And I really only say it now, so I apologize. I'll take that out of my lexicon. Anyway, this was a boat that was supposed to be just a quote, one step, and I thought, you know what, it's kind of got a history and it would be really neat if this thing looked a little bit better, so I decided to go ahead and throw the whole thing at it and just go cray. But it's old Gelcoat. The pores have opened up quite a bit because this boat was a little bit neglected, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. But right now I just wanted to show you the oxidation level. I wanted to show you the preparation level. And here you can see that delineation between where the cover was up by the snaps and obviously where it wasn't. So my job today is to kind of level those two together, get them even, and also to put a little gloss and a little shine on this old super fast little boat. And we're not just doing the exterior, also got Gardenia on the interior. She's outstanding. I have never in my entire life seen anyone do an interior of a boat better than she could. I keep trying to push her to go over to Seattle and just wreck house, but so far she likes it in Chelan, and I can't say I blame her. So there's me dropping the perfected ACEX or EXAC. There's my foam pad, and here we go. Basically what I'm going to start with is the center of the boat and the frame directly underneath the windshield. That section is a little bit raised up, and it's hard to get from, say, step ladder from the side of the boat. So I'm on top of the boat. I've got great visibility. I've got lights directly above me, and I can really focus this. The reason I used a foam pad is because I'm going around a lot of stainless steel stuff on the top of this boat, and I didn't really want to go through the hassle of removing all of it. So you can see the lifeline down the center of the boat. That's still there because I was lazy. That being said, I can get under it really easy with this particular foam pad. So knowing that, I was like, yeah, I think I'll use the foam pad. Besides, it does a really good job. I am using fluorescent lights. It's not quite as good as using, say, the sun. So I wanted something that could take out some of the artifacts that are left behind with a wool pad if you can't see it, and some of the things that a foam pad is really good at is blending marks that you left with a foam pad from one pass with the marks that you're leaving from a foam pad with a second pass. And it can hide some of the swirls and scratches that most people might make using a wool pad up in a tiny little spot like this. So that's why I'm using the foam pad. Also, the customer wasn't willing to pay for a full-on crazy cut, polish, two-step, whatever. So with a foam pad, because it cuts a little bit slower than a wool pad when you're using compounds, I'm able to see the shine kind of raise up, and before it gets like to be amazing, I can shut it down. In other words, I can get to an 8 instead of a 10, whereas if I was using a wool pad, you might go from 5 to 10 like that, and at that point now you got to do it to the whole boat. So with a foam pad, I can go from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and then as I'm working it, because it takes a little bit longer and more time, I can stop. I can stop at an 8, and in my head I think I know what an 8 is. But that's why I did it. So I'm blending this top section, which I'll make an 8, into the next section below that, which I'll shoot for like an 8.5, maybe even a 9. But the only difference is I'll be using a wool pad later and a foam pad here. I think you'll see what I'm trying to do when it all comes together. But for right now, just understand there's a little bit of compound on the pad. It's spinning very slow. and I try to maintain a flat profile as often as I can. That way I'm not up on edge, creating way too much heat with the foam pad. Foam pads are also really good for doing a really nice, even, final pass. In other words, it's almost like taking a hot knife to butter if you do it right. I should stop talking and let you enjoy some of this crazy copyright-free music. Or just stop talking. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Now you will see with the foam pad when I'm using it, I do go through some of the motions that I do with a wool pad. I don't do them nearly as aggressively or as exaggerated as I use or do with a wool pad. Foam pads can't necessarily cross-cut as aggressively as a wool pad, so if I'm up on an edge, it's a slight edge. About enough room under my pad generally to put maybe 2 fingers underneath on one side. Whereas if I'm cross-cutting with a wool pad, you could almost lay 4 to 5 fingers down, and that's how steep of an angle that I might put a wool pad versus the foam pad. So you remember me saying that the pores on this boat had expanded and they were huge? They are. Old Gelcoat, old Gelcoat, especially if it's neglected, the pores get bigger and bigger and bigger every year. So there's a point on an older boat, sometimes Gelcoat boat, that you just can't polish it up past a certain point. And the reason, number 3, that I didn't go crazy on this top side is because at a certain point you can't get to a 10. You just can't. The only way you could would be to flow coat the entire boat, re-gel coat it, and do all that fancy stuff that you're supposed to do when you need to restore a boat. Anyway, I'm going to start up here on the bow, and in this section I'm going to use a wool pad. Well, Lee, why do you use a wool pad instead of a foam pad? Because I have more room and nothing to hit except for one cleat on either side, and on one side, I believe the port side, I think there's a fuel filler cap. So when I say just a little bit of compound, this is exactly what I mean. You don't need to glob it on there for a section that's like a 1/4 inch tall. And after you applied it and forgot to cut your hair for the last 6 to 9 months, this is how you deal with it. Buffer wheels, at least on this machine, in my perspective and yours currently, spin in a clockwise motion. So if I've got product on the boat, I want that buffer wheel to roll into the product, slide it across the surface, and then hopefully retain some of it for the second rotation as it slides across that surface. What I don't want to do is have done the opposite of what you've seen here, which is me going left to right. If I had placed the compound down and gone right to left, I'm basically wasting about 80% of the compound that I put down because the wheel throws it away as soon as it touches it. It doesn't really get a chance to drag it across the surface. There's also a little channel here right above that edge. So instead of focusing on the flat middle, you guys know me, I focus on my edges first. So guess what? This is the second tier, tertiary tier of the edge. So I'm going to hit that really quick. And then there's one more up by this pinstriping. That would be the third edge. After that gets taken care of, then it's just flat stuff. And it's not really flat. It's actually a little bit curved, so you might see a little hoppy hop coming from the buffer. That's going to happen when you're dealing with compound on a curved surface sometimes. All you have to do is find a way to control the buffer, and you'll see here after I get it, after I get this edge done, you'll see a little hoppy, and you'll see what I do to correct it. And all it is basically is just calming down, taking a moment, grabbing your polisher a little bit different, maybe twisting the back handle, twisting your forward hand. It could be a lot of things. Sometimes I find just switching hands fixes all the hoppy, which is really bizarre, but it works. And if you've been watching, you know the process is the same. I'm going to spread this out, I'm going to cross cut, and then I'm going to go a little bit faster than I was when I was spreading it out. But there, you can see the crosscut angle that I put on my buffer there. You can shove a fist in there. Just go ahead and fist that buffer. Do it, I dare you. Anyway, once I've got the crosscuts down, I'm going to go flat, level this out, and start grinding. And you'll see the reflection that I get. There, see, she got a little hoppy. Oh, did it again. I'm not exactly sure why, but as long as you figure out that it's not going to win, and you are, eventually the conversation settles itself down, and so does the buffer. So just if you encounter this, sometimes you can actually pull the buffer off the boat, spool it up really fast, send it back down to its original speed, set it on the boat, and everything's fine. Sometimes, like I said, just switching hands is all it takes. Sometimes changing to a different speed is all it takes. I find a resonance frequency can build up in the buffer wheel, and all of a sudden you get a hoppy hop, which is quite annoying and it ruins the work. So don't let it happen. If it starts happening, fix it somehow. Find a new pad, find a new buffer, find a new boat. But yeah, don't let it be the norm. I've seen guys buffing in Long Beach and down in California, and it's like they've got a piece of plywood and a sanding disc, and every time they touch the boat, it just hops and hops and hops. And I'm thinking it's probably the pad, but you know, who knows? Anyway, same old, same old. A lot of back and forth, a lot of just slow, thought out passes, you know, making sure that the buffer wheel's flat, and you get stuff like this, and you don't have to spend, you know, a whole bunch of time using 2, 3, 4 compounds to get that result. So if you're using Presta, Level R, Stark, or any of the weird new fancy Drake drug compounds that are out there, maybe try to work them, I don't know, until they're gone, and see if you see a reflection. Instead of doing like 5 and 6 passes and then wiping it off, I mean, work it until it's gone, baby. Just keep going. Grind, grind, grind until it's just gone. And see if you don't enjoy it a little bit more, because I think what I find on YouTube, at least, is that nobody saying they know how to use compound, except for one guy who wears overalls and he has a ponytail. He's really good. He knows how to use compound because he works in the business and he deals with fiberglass all day. So he's got to learn how to compound out his Gelcoat repairs, and he does a really good job. But outside of he and maybe 2 other people that I've seen, nobody seems to understand the compound physics. And that's okay. You as an end consumer aren't necessarily required to understand them. And either am I, really. It just so happens that I kind of do. So that's the reason that you see me doing things differently with compound than generally you'll see anyone else do. So let's see, where are we at? Did a couple edges. Now I got one more edge to do, and you're going to see how I lay the compound in the crack. It's a 90-degree kind of corner, so I want to put a little compound on the perpendicular surface as well as the horizontal. That way I'm not having to smear in the compound on my own. I'm basically doing it upon application in my first pass with the buffer wheel. And yeah, I cross-cut even on little teeny sections. Cross-cutting, it's good stuff. Alright, pop quiz, what next? Yep, gonna spread this out. After that, again, a little bit of cross-cutting. After that, a little flattening out, a little polishing, a little grinding, a little smoothing out. And this is all done at a fairly slow speed, guys. I'm not going crazy fast. I'm not trying to scare the boat, burn it. I'm just literally trying to let the compound work. If you go super, super fast when you're up on an edge like this, you basically throw all your compound away. And it's expensive, so don't. Also, you run the risk of burning out these decals, this pinstriping, and just burning the gel coat, really. So here, the buffer's getting a little bit hoppy again, and I'm not quite sure why, but I'm going to adjust the speed slightly just to see if I can get rid of that resonance frequency. And as soon as I do that, she levels out and it's fine. Again, I don't know why the buffer does this, but sometimes they do. There, she caught a little taste of it right there. But then she's kind of leveled out and smoothed out. So everything was working out in the end, and as you'll see in a little bit, it looks fairly nice and even and smooth. So I'm going to step back for a second. Again, this is my morning, so I'm going to go grab a drink, kind of wake up. I'll be right back. I'll also admit, in this lighting condition with a bunch of fluorescent lights and some LED lights, there's a lot of confusing light shadow play going on. I mean to address this. I'm going to take out all the fluorescent lights in the shop and replace them all with LED lights. I like the more intense light that you get from the LEDs. It's a little bit more full spectrum, and so you can see a little bit more. Fluorescent lights have a tendency to dull a reflection quite a bit. In fact, even if you do a really good job outside and the reflection is what you consider absolutely perfect, if you bring it inside, you'll look at it and you'll be like, oh, what? It's not you, it's your light. Trust me, it's picking up all the pores of the gel coat. So instead of giving you a spot of light, sometimes fluorescence can give you a spot of light with a little sheen around that spot of light, and you think that it's just things that you didn't buff off. It's not. It's just highlighting the pores of the gel coat to make you think that it's a fuzzy dot instead of a sharp, wet paint style dot. Anyway, here I am, continually working the material, trying to make sure that all my passes are smooth and even, and I'm not leaving any swirls on the boat, because quite honestly, that's really my main goal. Shiny with no swirls. If I can't do that, then I suppose I should find another job. For anyone new at Gelcoat resurfacing or polishing, with white gel coat, I find if I can see color in the reflection, that's really good. At least outside, overcast day, if you're polishing away and you can see color in the reflection on a white gel coat, it means you've done a fairly decent job. So I've got the right hand side done, not the left hand side. So basically everything from the left side of this lifeline I have not touched. The entire starboard side of the top side is untouched by me. This side, however, has been touched, and I just wanted to show you the stark difference, perhaps. Maybe a little bit of the reflection and some of the clarity that I was able to get out of this. That's pretty much what this is showing you. And there you can see how the fluorescent lights are kind of, they just have a dull reflection. Not much you can do about that. Now, from the gas filler cap back, I haven't touched it, but I bet you know that I'm about to. All right, I'm going to save you a little bit of time. This is me compounding in super speed. After the compounding is done, then it's just a little bit of wax and you'll see all that. I use a DA to force the wax into the pores, work it around a little bit, then I'll speed it up a little bit before I finish, and then by finish, I mean I'll take a microfiber rag and clean it all up. But you notice that I'm not touching anything that I've worked on thus far. So once I've compounded it, I don't touch it. I don't lay a finger on it, I don't put my knee on it, I certainly don't walk up it or let my cords drag on it. Other detailers do, and they're idiots, but I don't. Anyway, there's the owner. Big old grin on his face. He's happy, finally. All right, so I'm on the side now where I can start to compound with the wool pad, and it's the same thing that you saw on the other side. It's just here it's a little bit darker, and you're not going to see so much, so all you're going to be able to focus on maybe is that little reflective light streak in the starboard side outer top foredeck. Wow, lots of words. 7 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, here I've already applied the wax and I'm already kind of smoothing it out and getting ready to take it off. And there, I'm taking it off. And there's the finished product.
Alright guys, it's been kind of a long day. Not a super long day, but the boat's done. So for all of you who think, oh, I should totally wet sand and spend 3 days on just the top side, I would like to offer an option, and it's compound. Compound, 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 compound. And then when you're done, throw a little compound on it and see if you need a little bit more compound after that. It's been a fun project. I think I started this at around 10 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock this morning. And now it's 7:45 in the afternoon. I did take about a 20-minute lunch, and I might have used the little boy's room at one point. But if you've got time to wax a boat, you have time to compound a boat. And if you have time to compound a boat, well then just wax it afterwards. And thank yourself for doing such an amazing job. Truth be told, this guy is trying to sell the boat, and when he called, he was like, yeah, it just needs a wax. That's what I do every year. So I drilled down a little bit in the questioning, found out he used caranuba wax and not a buffer. So that's why it looks so trashed out. And that's why it took so much loving. But now this boat looks like it should. I'm really happy about that. Thanks for watching. You guys have a great night. I'm going home and grab a beer and maybe a little something extra, because it's Washington and things are legal here that aren't legal there.